During her brief tenure in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark has been battered down. Initially, people questioned her, but after she demonstrated, all of her detractors persisted in disparaging her, but she recently garnered attention from the fans for another occasion. This incident involved the Fever game against the Connecticut Sun in June, when the Sun were controlling the Fever and Dee Carrington was leading the charge. However, with roughly 3.5 minutes remaining, Carrington was called for a foul, which Caitlin did not agree with. Carrington was in the way when Clark got the ball off an inbound pass and tried to drive on her defender. She was bumped by Carrington and managed to get a call to send her to the line because the Fever was in the bonus, but what Carrington did next startled everyone after the play was named dead. In a very blatant and disrespectful gesture, Carrington made fun of Clark as though she was faltering. Clark quickly called 2 foul shots, but it was insufficient to put out the fire, as they lost the game by 17 points after entering the house half down by 20. To add salt to the wound, Clark only managed 10 points and 2 assists, making it one of her worst games during her WNBA career. The early season Fever dropped to 310. In the post-game press conference when Carrington was asked about Clark and what they did to get ready for her, answer was normal and not disrespectful in any way, that is, until her teammate chimed in. Ty Harris immediately after Carrington was done said it's a seatbelt season 4, it's seatbelt season 4. This garnered some social media attention because it was disrespectful and surely a shot at Caitlin, who was still getting her footing in the WNBA. After all, she was only in her 13th pro game as the season went on. Many forgot about this incident because there had been so many others similar to it, but Clark surely did not, because what happened when the Fever went up against the Sun a couple of months later was impressive. The two teams had already played 3 times and the Sun were undefeated through the season series, so that was just another reason for the Fever to have some motivation. Would you like to see crazy moments like these? Well, if you want to win. However, to begin, the Sun took the lead, and it took a minute for Caitlin Clark to finally get going after a few minutes of stumbling. Dee Carrington rode her pretty hard on defense, making Caitlin Clark look foolish. Carrington lost her equilibrium when Clark hit a mean crossover to surprise her. Although it wasn't considered an assist, Clark had plenty of space to shoot, and she did so to help the Fever limit the game to just 1 point a few possessions later. When Clark discovered a driving Aaliyah Boston open, she was able to assist a teammate in getting open. Boston got the pass, but because there was so much attention on Clark, Lexi Hull was wide open in the corner to hit a 3-pointer to bring the Fever to a 5-point lead. Jen Carrington was able to score on the next possession after Clark made a lackadaisical pass that was stolen by Marina Ma. The Sun went on a 2-on-1 fast break and Ma was able to gift Carrington a nice little alley-oop pass for an easy layup, but Caitlin Clark continued to power her way through the Sun defense. She was able to get a dribble handoff from Nalissa Smith, and although she does not show it too often, she showed her strength as she drove hard on Dee Carrington to get 2 points to go down. A couple of plays later, both Clark and Carrington were able to show off their playmaking. First, Clark made a rather impressive behind-the-back pass as she was double-teed to her teammate Aaliyah Boston. However, when Boston went up for the shot, it was blocked and turned around to a fast break the other way. Carrington eventually got the ball close to the basket, and with all of the attention on her, she dumped it down to Alyssa Thomas for a wide-open layup. Following this, Clark was able to push the pace to connect with fellow Fever guard Kelsey Mitchell, who was able to catch her defender off guard with a backdoor cut to get wide open. Unfortunately for the Fever, though, Clark got into some foul trouble and was forced to watch the game from the bench for a little, while Carrington was able to seize the moment and make the most of it. As she got a loose, she proceeded to go strong to the hoop to get an and-one bucket to fall in to give her team a little boost. With the help of Clark play before she was pulled, the Fever were up 33-26 to enter the second quarter. Clark was able to come back into the game though, but it seemed like she was put in a seatbelt that she had in the June game against the Sun. But as it goes with Clark, it was only a matter of time before she found her rhythm, and that time came when she was able to fire off a pass to Lexi Hull, the wing, who was able to beat the shot clock and hit a tough 3-point shot the next possession with the help of a teammate-on-teammate collision that involved Carrington and Alyssa Thomas. Clark was able to pull it from the wing wide open to get herself going from deep one again. Then Clark was able to, on a fast break, find Lexi Hull at the same spot that she had a couple of possessions ago as Hull hit the 3 to keep the home Fever fans excited. Then she was able to execute a pick and roll to perfection to find Aaliyah Boston for a nice little mid-range shot to give her yet another assist. Clark was dominating the Sun and Dee Carrington, and with the home fans supporting her, it appeared that she was invincible as the match moved into halftime. The next 2.5 minutes of the quarter would consist of pure defense with no scoring. Carrington and the Sun came out of the break with an obvious fire though, and it was obvious that it was going to be a hard-fought game after she was able to get 2 buckets to go early in the quarter, but Clark was able to get back to wowing the Fever fans as she made a full-court pass to a running Kelsey Mitchell on the other end to set her up for a wide-open and fast break layup. Then Clark was able to get her shooting back up and running whenever she got a mean step back to work to catch Carrington off balance and off guard, and she hit a 3 right over her, but Carrington had an answer after she hit a 3 from the wing. But what she did next made the Fever fans mad again. After hitting the 3, she ran back on defense while shushing the crowd that had gained excitement after the Clark 3. She should have known that Clark was going to be coming for her though, because she always does. Clark was able to use her unique ability to completely change the pace of a whole game whenever she took advantage of the celebrations of the Sun as she sprinted up the court. Then she hit a behind-the-back dribble and drove on Carrington, getting a tough bucket to fall to show Carrington that she was not going to be able to make the Fever crowd shut up that easily. Then Clark was able to take advantage of a head screen from the Sun that was very poorly executed. She was able to split the 2 defenders and get an open floor to fall to bring the Fever lead to 5 points. Once again, Carrington was doing everything she could to get her team in the game, blowing past Lexi Hull and sliding her way up through the defenders to get a left-handed layup to go in. Alyssa Thomas was able to finally give the Sun a slim lead with 2 free throws, but Alexi Hull to Kelsey Mitchell connected for a 3-pointer shot down the Sun's momentum again, and a few minutes later, with what felt like the game on the line, the ball was in Caitlin Clark with Veronica Burton on her. Clark had one objective, which was to take advantage of the mismatch and use her quickness to get the ball all the way to the rack. First step, Clark managed to get herself to the basket for a nice 2 points, but the Sun needed a response. After a missed Carrington 3, the ball went out of her hands, and the Sun had the ball down to with less than a minute left. On the other end, the game was over, and the Fever were on top of 8,480 to complete a takedown of one of the toughest teams in the WNBA. For Clark, this meant exacting revenge on Carrington for what she had done the previous game, as well as defending her home court. Carrington ended the game with 19 points, 3 rebounds, and a remarkable 6 steals on defense, but she only made one of 5 3-point attempts when it counted most. In addition to having a lot of shots, Clark also made 3 3-pointers to increase her point total to 19, but more importantly, she was able to finish when the game was on the line. She also added 5 rebounds and 5 assists to her stat line. Kelsey Mitchell was able to keep her game high by leading the game in scoring with 23 points, which also greatly aided Clark in diverting some of the defense's attention from the rookie star. However, Carrington did something unexpected after the game. She tweeted that the Indiana Fever had the nastiest fans in the WEW, and rightfully so, calling her out for losing the game in the first place. They said, "You taunted and you got smoked. Don't be a sore loser, and oh, looks like your feelings are hurt. Take the L and move on." However, even though these two teams are done playing each other for the regular season, don't expect the drama to end. We might even see this intense matchup in the playoffs, and in the years to come. If you liked the episode, please remember to like, subscribe, and share it in the comments section below. We'll see you in the next one.